just tell maybe a story or two about him. I got some real good ones about him. So I'll start off with, I'll just do a couple push-ups. Just a background to Stan Wolfpaw. Maybe I'll tell that story about Old Hands first. I was thinking, I've been in a lodge for up to 20 years, and I was thinking, Stan, maybe if I got into a lodge, it might help him on his walk. So I inquired. I phoned a couple of guys that I know from the Lower Mainland here. I live in Kamloops, so I made a couple calls, and sure enough, I got hold of this fellow, and he says, try this fellow by the name of Old Hands. So I give him a call. And I says, Old Hands, I says, I got a brother, he lives down east end of Vancouver. I says, what's the chances of, somebody getting into a lodge? And he said, Stan Puff, he says, I know that guy. I says, that's Wolfpaw. What had happened, there was programs, east end of Vancouver, there's all these different programs. One of the programs, they would give you 10, 20 bucks. You go sit in a sweat lodge. So what happens after, when you're in a lodge, you end up progressing, and you end up with the spirit name. You go to the other side, and talk to their elders over there, and they come back with the name. And that was his name, Wolfpaw. So I talked to Stan, I says, you old dog, you're already in the lodge. He didn't say, he had a secret side about him too. He didn't share too much about personal things, or things that weren't in the moment. He wasn't a man to pass the day. So it was neat. I was expecting Wolfpaw to be here, but I guess he's out of town today.
Okay.
Old Hands, sorry. Old Hands. And he is out of town today, so I'll just carry on without him. So I'll sing that song then, and I'll give you a story or two with him. This is called the Tree of Life. We do a Sundance and put up a sacred tree that we honor. Yahweh, Yahweh, Wait, Thank you very much. Just a couple stories. Yeah, after they go, it was very sudden, and we're going to miss that guy. I guess the first story I'll tell is when my brother Gary passed away. We're almost numbers. He's number 7, I was number 12, Mel's number 13. Pat, I guess you're probably number 10. And Gary was probably number 9. So when Gary passed, he went up there and he's broken up, lost his, and he says, in this world, he says, we only have so many friends. He says, I don't have many. He says, I lost one of my best ones. And that's how I feel about my brother Stan. When everybody was talking, I surely remember all those stories. He'd come to Vancouver. He was always a property manager of an apartment, and you always had a place to stay. You had money in your pocket. And that went way back. When I was a kid, Pat and I and Gary would go and visit them. They're always working bars. And they had tips and tips galore. And they always had like a Texas Mickey. All filled, they were just filled with change, eh? Yeah. And we thought I guess we were little devils, but we would help ourselves to all this change. Thank you very much, brother. The other stories I thought about in the last 2 weeks since he's gone, and his time leading up to his time that he continued his journey. One of the things happened a couple of months ago. My sister-in-law passed, and he had to make it down to Edmonton, and he got on a bus and made it down to his sister-in-law and brother's celebration for her life. And on his way back, I live in Kamloops, he had a layover. And it was an honor to make it up there. I think he got in about 6 in the morning, so I said, I'll meet you there. He's on his phone, I'll meet you there. I said, let's go for breakfast. You want to go for breakfast? I'll take you over to Timmy. No, he said. I says, come on, let's go. So we jumped in, we went over and went through a drive-through. And what do you think? How about a number 2? He said, oh, a number 2. I like you say when he goes to the restaurant and orders. He's got a long order sometimes. It's short, but he makes it long, right? Ask for some extra ketchups. Get some ketchup and some extra cream, some sugar, right? He was a survivor. One thing I'd like to share with you is ministries. We do many ministries in our own way. I do my ministry similar to him, on streets. I never pass people on the street. You say, you never know. You gotta take a walk in Moxton for a mile to figure out where they're at. They're our brothers and sisters. In our Lakota way, we call them Matakiasi. Matakiasi means all our relatives. And it's not for all intents and purposes. It's the truth that I know, and I'm sure my brother Stan knows, that we are all relatives. We're all relatives. We're all brothers and sisters. There's many new teachings around that. That's the thing in the heart. And his ministry was the East End of Vancouver, world famous now for the place where people gather, as a family, as a family that maybe have lost their families or begin another family. And he was down there, and the stories that he would tell me, some of them were pretty heart-wrenching. And he was down there. One of the things that he would do is he always walked around with Noxman. He'd have these Noxman kits for these overdoses. And he'd say, brother, he says, today, he says, I saved 3 of them today, he says. And it was through the Noxman program. So we had a ministry down there. I guess, like my brother said, they call him high functioning. He was very high functioning. He did ministries down there. He would actually do, because of his background, I guess, Wolfpaw and his Cree elder, he became a Cree elder and a healer. I witnessed when I first started with this, one of those things that, he's sitting at that, you want to go sit at another table, but I watched it with my own eyes. There was a young lady in North, I was by the ferry actually, Pat and I and Stan went, and there was a young lady, and he said to her, Stan said to her, he says, would you like a healing? And the lady says, you know what? She says, I do need a healing. And she reacted a story about, I guess she was had gone through a relationship, and she was going through a hard time. She says, when the busyness gets over, she says, I'd like to come back. If you would like to give me a healing, I would like to receive one. So sure enough, as soon as it died down a little bit, she came over to the table. And, his work, he was I would say medicine man. I read about these medicine men, and it's a mystery, and you don't know where they come from or what their gifts are, but he had a gift. He was a medicine man, and he walked that way, and so full of courage. That's one of the laws in the Code of Ways. There's seven laws, and one of them is courage. And this man had so much courage to take that walk that he did. Just to leave this planet to go on. It takes a lot of courage. We'll all do that. And I hope I have enough courage as he did. The other thing I'd like to share is last 2 weeks, he got to go over and visit with Joel, or over on the island, and to visit with his apple of his eye, I believe, it's Raylan. And I'd like to thank Joel for the time that she spent with her dad last few weeks.
And Rylan, she fed and she ate every meal with him. No, and that was a lot of meals because everything he was given he didn't eat.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely moment for. That's where he wanted to be, and he got his moment.
Yeah. And he was in the hospital. I think just before he go to the island, and Joel got a hairstylist in there. Raylan got her haircut, and Dad got his shaven haircut too.
Which was to his hair, his shoulders.
Yeah.
Never seen that ever in my life.
Yeah.
Hair to his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he wanted to keep it.
Yeah.
This is what,
Yeah. He had a mop on for sure. Yeah.
a nice thick mop till the very end.
Yeah. I'd say that the other thing that he got to go to is his son's wedding. To be there, and as sick as he was, and we all know, I think, when our time is coming, and he knew his time was coming, and he had some things that he wanted to do before he left. His son married off, and got to meet his new daughter-in-law, and so it's, I guess I could probably stand here all day and tell stories about him, but just, he was a special guy. And I'd like to thank his first wife's family here as well, Sydney and Judy, and Elaine. I remember Elaine, and told the story to Sydney about Karina, was babysitting Karina and Monty in Edmonton when they were probably 2 and 4 or something like that. They were living in Edmonton at the time. So many stories like that, and he was the man he was because of Elaine, and how much they cared for one another, shared their life together, and have that extended family. I was part of that family as well. It was her family. I felt very close to them. Mom and Dad, Walter, Uncle Walter. Thank you guys for coming. I'd like to thank all the nieces and nephews as well. This is, I think, a testament to who he was, how much he was loved by his nephews and nieces. And my nephew, Daryl, and his wife Dee from Edmonton, you know, they come a long way, and a big experience. I'm ready for 10 people, so it's just like to end it there. Thank you all for coming very much.
In front of me because I'm Patty. I'm Stan's younger brother. He was born in 44. I was born in 50. And Stan, all my brothers are heroes to me, every one of them. Stan was the one that I could always feel him watching me, making sure I was okay. He saw me struggling in Edmonton. He had just moved out to the island, and he came to Edmonton for a visit. He said, "Look, why don't you come back with me?" So I ended up living with him in Nanaimo, or in Port Hardy, for almost a year. And same thing in Vancouver. He was managing an apartment on Butte Street. I think he managed it for 7 or 8 years. It was a 6-story apartment, and he was managing that. He had a couple of moving trucks on the road. He was flying pretty good. And he took me in, and he gave me a place to stay because he knew I was struggling. I was struggling with addictions and a bunch of other stuff in Edmonton. He knew that, and he grabbed me and said, "Come with me." And so I did. And Stan was always like that. He gave me my first guitar when he was in the airport. He was in the Air Force, and one of his buddies was shipped overseas, and he left him a guitar, an acoustic guitar. And he brought it home to me. Said, here's a guitar. Learn how to play it. Whenever he came around, he'd want to hear me and see if I could play any better. But I wanted to share just a couple of things about the last times I saw him. He was in St. Paul's. He'd been there for a couple of months, struggling with something that doctors couldn't figure out. And I could see him deteriorating, and he knew he was deteriorating. He was losing weight, couldn't eat. And but he was still Stan. He was still right up to the end. He was still Stan. I never saw a more determined guy in my life. He was the complete entrepreneur. Right? He loved nothing more than a business plan, and that's what he loved doing, was wheeling and dealing. And he loved people. He was just nuts about people. He would just, I'd have to call before I'd go downtown to visit him because he was rarely home. He was always out on the streets, walking up and down Hastings, talking with people. Everybody knew him, and doing his thing, right? And so when he was in the hospital, and he knew that he wasn't going to last much longer. I was there the Sunday when he passed. I was there in the morning, and he was getting a little upset. You know, he said, "I've had enough of this." And we talked for a little while, and I went over close to him, and I was helping him out with something, and I got my head close enough. He just lifted his head up and he kissed me on the cheek. And I couldn't believe it, because, you know, he was so frail, and he knew what was coming. And he said to me that morning, he says, "Patty," he says, "if I die, I've had a good life." And he meant it, that I've had a good life, because Stan lived the way Stan wanted to live. He taught me. He says, "Live the way you want to live in the moment, and never mind what other people think. What everybody else thinks doesn't really matter." He says, "Live in the moment, do what you want to do, and never mind other people." Right, and that's how he lived, moment to moment. We had a little running joke at the end. because he would say, nobody tells me how to live, right? And I would say, okay, I'm going to live like that too. Nobody's going to tell me how to live, right? So at the end of our meeting, I'd be going home, he'd say, have a good day. I'd say, don't tell me how to live. So we had that running back and forth. And the day that he went out to Doug and Trish's wedding, I want to see determination. I didn't think the hospital would give him a pass. He was that frail. But he managed to get a pass from the hospital. And he told me a couple of days before, would you give me a ride out there? I said, yeah, I'll give you a ride out there. He says, I want to get on the first ferry. I said, okay, we'll make the first ferry. Right? So I get down to St. Paul's, it wasn't even open yet. It doesn't open up until 6 a.m., which I didn't know. So anyway, I finally get into the hospital, and he's already getting prepared. I get up to his room, and he's got his clothes on, he's got his stuff all laid out on the bed, and he's ready to roll. Right? I walked in, and I said, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready to go. Right? And he could hardly walk. He had to use a walker. Right? But he was determined. And so we get on the ferry, and that was something else. We get on the ferry. I mean, you spend the day with Stan, you really spent the day with somebody. Oh, man, he was meeting people, saying hi to people. You know, and I was worried about him getting around on the ferry. He did better than I did. You know, with this walker, he could go right to the front of the food line. And he did, right? He got his stuff before I got mine. So we made it over there anyway. And it was a great day for him. It was a great day for him. When we walked into the back of the church and saw you guys doing your vows, oh, he just melted. Right? He just sat at the back and he just went quiet and watched. And I could tell he was just tickled to be there, right, with his kids. And but he got tired and he wanted to go back home, so we got back home. And then he was back in St. Paul's again, and even though he was going down slowly, his spirit never changed. His spirit never changed at all. He still wanted to get back out there and do stuff. He wanted his business plan going on. He was talking with people. Just for the last couple of days, he said, I've had it. Right? But he says, I've lived a good life. And he meant it.